I've split this tutorial into two parts. Part one is just working the body of the chicken, and part two will be all of the details. And that is to prevent the video from being too long and having to scroll back and find out where you were. So it should simplify you as a viewer and maker. Hey everyone! In this video I'm going to show you how to make this free pattern for a chicken pot holder. This is my hen, and in the video we're going to make the rooster to go with my hen. So this is all category 4 yarn. I have several different colors. That was just a design choice. You can make it in a solid. I've got a little ring attached for hanging up in the comb area. I think that's what it's called. And I'll show you how I put that in. And then just some decorative. My rooster's going to have a little bit of a different face, but the breast and the body shape and the feather shape will be the same. And then this is where your hand goes in to use it as a pot holder if you want to use it for something other than display. So this is worked with the linked single crochet, which is nearly as thick as a thermal stitch. So this is almost as heat safe as the thermal stitch. So I would feel more comfortable using this than just some kind of regular crochet single panel. You know, sometimes like with my the peppermint pot holders, I'll put a picture of those for Christmas. That's 2 flat single crochet panels sewn together to give double thickness, but this should give some decent heat protection if you have to grab it for some reason off the wall and use it. So let's get started. I have the pattern, free pattern on the website. I will link it below. So I'm using a 4mm crochet hook, category 4, 100% cotton yarn. This is, the other one is the mercerized Lion brand 24/7, because that's what I have. And this one is Hobby Lobby. I love this cotton, and this is just brown. And to get started, I'm going to single crochet 40 stitches. And I want to keep them kind of loose. Or if you're not good at that, you can go up a little bit, 4.5 or 5mm. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so now that I look at it, my 40 stitches is a good bit bigger than my chicken. So I think I'm going to, this is all single crochet, so you don't have to worry about certain amounts for the stitch repeat to match up. So I think I'm going to pull out 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches so that they're the same-ish kind of size. You know, funny thing that happened, I use the 24/7 cotton is a mercerized cotton, and I always say it goes through puberty when it gets washed because it fills out. It does. The white that I used for the breast pocket in the front had been repurposed from a project that had been washed, and it was so much larger than the unwashed version. I had to go smaller with that front pocket size. All right, and then this yarn is slightly thicker than the mercerized cotton. All right, so I'm going to go back and in second chain from hook, single crochet across. I'm not going to start the linked crochet stitch until the next row, row 2. So I'll come back and we'll work that one together. All right, I finished my row of single crochet. So now I'm going to begin the linked stitch rows, which will be done for the rest of the pattern. So currently, I didn't say before, we're working the back body, the main body, the bigger piece. So in the first stitch, make a single crochet. Then we start the linked stitch. So you go back into that same stitch and pull up a loop before going into the next. thus linking the 2 stitches together. So there's 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through. And that's why it's a thicker stitch than just a regular single, double, or half double crochet stitch, because it uses more yarn. And you'll see also it has this kind of waffly thick texture that's going to give you some distance from the heat as well. I love this stitch so much. I make a lot of home items with this. All right, so I just went back into that stitch I just made to pull up my loop, go into the next stitch. Drop a loop, pull up, yarn over, pull through. Go into the same stitch again, then into the next stitch, 3 loops, yarn over, pull through. So you'll just keep doing this link stitch repeat for, let's see, I have it at about 21 rows of this, or you can go by measurement, which is approximately 4.5 inches this way. And then we'll start working some decreases to shape the body. And I'll do those with you so you can see how they're done. They're not typical method of decreasing. So I've done 21 rows, and with this being a little bit thicker of a yarn than in my what I used for my hen, I'm just going to double check my measurement, and it's just over 4.5. But that's okay if it's a little larger, because my rooster, I think I'm good with him being bigger than my hen. And so now, well, before I talk about the decrease, if for some reason you want the breast part where the hand goes to be deeper, longer, I've got really long hands. I'm a tall woman, so I've got long everything, and my hand measurement, and I always grow my nails out long, so I'm looking at like 8 inches, and I can use this comfortably. But if for some reason you would like this longer, start your decreases later than what we're doing. So if you want to add another inch, that's, you know, like 4 more rows, you can do that without worrying about this shape being off. So it would just have a longer body, and then you start the shoulder decrease. Do chickens have shoulders? Let's call it a shoulder. And then the neck and the head rounds upwards. Oh, and the finished measurement is about 11 inches this way. So just so you know how much longer you would be making it by doing that increase. Okay, so the first is a bigger decrease that we're going to do. Bigger by meaning 2 stitches instead of the 1 stitch decrease that's coming. All right, so for row 23, again, this is all in the written pattern. I'm sorry, 22. So I did 21 rows already. So just to get this yarn moved over without cutting or moving it, I'm going to slip the first 2 stitches. Slip 1 and slip 2. Then start again with the link stitch as I did when I was starting the rows prior to this. I do a single crochet in the first and then begin the linked stitches across. And I'm going to leave the last 2 stitches unworked so that will bring it in 2 stitches on this side and this side by doing that. Again, link the stitches. So your decrease for this row, since you may be working a different starting count than the 39 or 40 that goes down to 39 after you work your first row, let's just count it as reducing this row by 4 stitches. So I'm coming to the end of the row. You see I have 1, 2, 3 stitches left. So I'm going to make my last link stitch now and then just stop. All right, so you see we've got 2 decreased here, and those 2 slip stitches here are going to make this start to come in. Yarn is tangled up here. So the next 2 rows are not decreased. We'll chain 1, turn, single crochet first, and work link stitches across. And this on this row, I'm going to be mindful. My little chilly, my little heater's on. Be mindful that I don't work into those last 2 slip stitches that I'll be coming up on at the end of this row. All right, so you see I'm coming up to the end. There's my 2 slip stitches. Skip those. Just work these last 2. And then here. Chain 1, turn, and this again is not a decrease row, so this is row 20. I'm at 24, and I'll just work a regular linked single crochet row, no decreases. All right, so now for row 25, we're going to start the small decreases for shaping. So bring this up here. We're going to do a few of these rows like this. So don't chain, turn, and then skip over the first stitch and work into the second one for your first single crochet of the row. Just going to skip and start the linked row like that. My first stitch, and then start the linked sequence. I'm getting towards the end of this row. All right, so let's look here. I just put my hook in to start the link stitch process. And if I turn up, I see I have 1, 2, 3 stitches left. Let me finish this stitch, this link stitch. Go in here, pick up last. You see there's 2 left. Going to skip the second to the last, or next to the last, and just go into the last stitch. So that'll be the decrease for this row, and work that linked stitch. Turn and do the same decrease again on this row. Skip the first stitch, put your hook in the second one, and make your single crochet and start this again with the same kind of decrease on both ends that I just showed you. I'm going to do a few of these. I'll put it up in the box how many rows like this you'll be doing. I'm not looking at the pattern right this second to tell you how many times, but it's a few. But just so you understand how to do that decrease, I wanted to film that. All right, so let me point this out, otherwise you're not going to get a gentle slope here of the shoulder. It's going, and also it will decrease too much and you won't have a wide enough opening to put your hand into the breast pocket. So I'm at the end of this row, going to go in, pull up my stitch. So this right here, this was the first decrease. I came over, I skipped the first stitch and put the yarn in the second stitch. So that stretched over stitch right here, that's where you're going to finish. So we'll skip this, go down, so it's gonna ladder down, then pull up and finish. So I skipped that little bit taller stitch, went down into the one that was kind of on the angle coming over to the other side. I'm going to create one of those right now. So I'm skipping this first stitch, putting my hook in the second stitch, and that stretch over to that second stitch is where I'm going to finish when I come back the next time. This one right here. There I made my first single crochet, and I'm going to work my linked stitch row, finishing in that slant stitch on this end I'll be coming up to on this row. So there are, let's see, I have my pattern up here. 5 rows worked like this. Now that just gives a really gentle sloping effect. All right, so I finished my decreased rows. I did, let's see, 5. And then now I'm going to work, what is this? The neck, the side of the head, before I do those decreases again up here. So these are just chain 1, turn, and then work regular linked single crochet rows. You want to make sure if your yarn is for some reason a little bit thicker and your measurement is slightly different than what I'm showing in the pattern, that you have enough of an opening up here to where the hand can fit through. I have, even though my hands are long, they're pretty thin. And I also did not, the breast pocket, I'm calling this front piece, I didn't stitch it completely closed right here at that first row, so I could easily get in there. I'm not planning on using these as pot holders, but you just never know. When there's a hot pot and this is hanging nearby and something has to be done, you don't think twice, you grab what you need to grab. So just to make sure that it's safe, regardless whether you plan to use it or not. If it's close by, it might get grabbed. Just be thinking about the functionality of that. And if you do like this width, you can just not stitch it completely closed, come down a little further. You can kind of modify that opening, but currently it is 5.5 inches my opening, maybe a little more. My hand across is 4, but you know, people have all kind of different hand widths for making this. If there's a man in the kitchen, or if you have a kind of a chunkier, chubbier kind of hand, we can't help how our hands are, right? So we want to make this work for our hand. Or if you're making it as a gift, it'll easily fit your recipient's hand. Okay, so I'm going to work a few of these straight rows, and then I'll be back and we'll finish up the shaping of the head of the chicken. So I've worked my 10 straight rows for the neck area, and then now, see where we're at, I need to start doing the head shaping. And this will be done the same way that the shoulder rows were done, with the skipping the first stitch without chaining 1 when you turn, skip, work into the second, and start your linked single crochet. And that is, let me see, that's 7 rows that are done like this. this point I'm on row 41. Again, here I am at the last 2 stitches. Pull up, skip over this one, and go down into the last. Turn, skip the first, go into the second, and make that first single crochet, and then work the linked stitches across the row, doing the decrease at this opposite end as well. Alright, so I worked on my decreases up to row 48 now, and then for the top row I'm just going to turn and work slip stitches across. And not too snug because I need to work into them to put that comb on the top of the rooster head, just like I did for the hen. And then the next thing is to work the breast pocket. So for my rooster, I think I'm going to do an off-white color and then make his feathers black. But the feather tutorial I will do in a easy to see color because this is a nightmare to watch and probably as bad as watching black or worse. So I'll do it in a kind of a bright color. I'm going to hold this stitch open for right now because I'll need to work stitches down the side once I get the breast pocket attached. I'm going to do all of this, and I like the main body color to be peeking up onto the breast pocket. So the breast pocket is just working the pattern again up to the neckline. Let me see what row that is. You'll go up to row 29. And I'm going to be using a different brand of yarn, so I'm going to have to do it by measurement again and not stitch count like I had to do with this one. This one, because the white, you know, went through puberty when it got washed because it's mercerized cotton, it fluffed out. I had to use about 3 less stitches to make it the same width. And then this yarn was less stitches because it's a little bit of a thicker yarn. And my ivory yarn I'm going to use is crafter's cotton, I believe. It's going to be very close, but it might be 1 or 2 stitches different. So I'm going to work that up, and then we'll start working on the feathers. I'm not going to do a breast pocket tutorial because it's the same as the body of the chicken.